In the last IRL video we were at Donington and we achieved pole position in a Mclaren 720S GT3. This one is not too different really. We're in a Mclaren 720S GT3 at the best UK track, in my opinion of course, Brands Hatch, and we are in British GT in a qualifying session. I'm not going to spoil the result. Some of you will know what happens and where we finish. Some of you won't. Even if you do, it's worth watching because it's the full session. So yeah, hope you enjoy. Let's jump into it and see how we got on. Okay, let's get underway then. So in the pit lane, cars have just been dropped from the jacks. Chief mechanic's going start the engine. We're getting sent underway towards the end of the pit lane to start the session. So the way it's working, like last time, I was in the AM session with the slower silvers and the AMs, and the next session would be Michael, my teammate, with the pros and the faster silvers. So when I go like that, I mean, the slower silvers weren't always in this session. It was close. Silvers are meant to be close. So anyway, end of the pit lane. We're waiting to go. Green flag's gone. We're quite far back in the queue, which is not ideal, but you got to deal with it. And I need to now make some space, like the last video, get heat and whatever into the brake and the tyres, but get some space in front of me so I've got, yeah, a clear track, because dirty air in these cars do make a difference. So immediately you can see as I turn my lights on there on the central dash, I'm going to get heat into my tyres and brakes by just doing some weaving. But my main concern really is that McLaren in front of me, that 2C's McLaren, is quite close. And I know, we all know what happens at the end of a warm-up lap before quali. It backs up like 15 seconds, so I'm doing it now, you know, taking it slowly now, as opposed to getting to the end of the lap and then having to go really slowly before my lap starts, because then I'm going to start the lap with cold tyres and cold brakes, which is the worst scenario possible. So a few things to consider going into the session. Track sensors, there's a few of them around here. There's one on the exit of turn 1, one on the exit of turn 3, the left-hander, and I think that's about it. So in that regard, we don't have to be too careful, but on those corners we have to just be wary. But apart from that, the track's bone dry, new tyres, low fuel, just how we like it. And it's the Saturday, so it's my second day on the circuit. On the Friday we had a 1 hour session of practice. I did half an hour and it was wet. Saturday was the first time I drove this in the dry. I'd done Brands Hatch Indy before, but never the GP loop, so what a track. Honestly, that's why I said in the title of the video, it's the best track. It's amazing. So not ideal to start the lap, because we've been backed up by the 2C's McLaren. We've had to really slow down. So we're starting the lap with some cold tyres and brakes. Going into turn 1, which always catches me out how steep it is. Braking at the 2 board, down to 3rd gear. Late apex, get on the power. First lap, so we just need a good banker, solid. You know, not absolutely on the limit straight away. And what I would say is, I don't know why, but around here, the tyre drop-off point was quicker. So going into the left-hander, we used the curb on the inside. I don't think that was the best idea because the curb was quite aggressive. But back to the tyres, I think lap 2 or 3 was the quickest. Anything after that, you'll see in a minute, it drops off. So we really have to get on it quickly. Going into the GP loop, unbelievable section, lots of elevation change. Going into the right-hander, I can't remember the names of the corners off the top of my head. Some of them I can, but not all of them. Down to 4th gear, we get the car in, a little bit of understeer. Carry good speed though. Down to 3rd gear, lots of curb. I figured that out on the Saturday morning. You could just absolutely yeet that curb up to the next right-hander. Hold it in 4th, down 1 gear, saves you downshifting 2 gears. And then there's a cambered corner, which we try and hook up the curb on the inside to help a little bit of rotation. So far it's been a solid first lap. You got to say, for a banker, we've probably caught the blue McLaren ahead a little bit as well, so that's always encouraging. It's actually quite nice having a car to chase, because if you are catching him, it just gives you a little bit more, mentally anyway. Going into lap 2, up to 6th gear, brake just after the 2 board now, we're getting a bit braver on the brakes. Late apex on the power earlier, you'll see the second lap is just better in every single way. Braking later, braking harder, turning the car more aggressively. On the power earlier, bit of wheel spin, but that was good. And then you'll see here, I'd say the only weakness in this session was my steering inputs were very aggressive, probably too aggressive. And to this next left-hander, late apex, We turn in a bit early, but we hug it tight, we get the car rotated, still carried a decent amount of speed going into the GP loop once again, so we're definitely catching that McLaren in front of us, 100%. And you'll see going into this next right-hander, down to 4th, just loads of understeer mid-corner. I don't think we got the nose in enough on the braking to keep the turn in. Loads of curb on the inside again, even more curb, carry good speed. Hold it in 4th, down to 3rd, even more curb than the first lap, on the throttle earlier, more committed everywhere, we're getting confident. Yeah, that was good, yeah. And then going into the final corner. So far, apart from that right-hander, it's been a pretty good lap. So far on a 25.35. You'll see across the line we go into 24s, 24.8. So into lap 3, up to 6th gear, down to 3rd. Bit hesitant on the throttle there, but you can see above our right hand, like last time, if you saw the last video, we're red on the delta, so we're actually down on our best lap. So after turn 2, still red on the dash. I think from memory I was like 2 tenths down from lap 2. I bailed because there was no point carrying on that lap. I'm not going to gain that time back. So yeah, I may as well cool everything down, reset myself mentally, because it doesn't look it on the onboard, but it is quite knackering mentally just to go hot lap. You know, having a break in between, if I've made a mistake on this lap, it's worth it. So I'm keeping the heat in the brakes and the tyres, just resetting myself for the 4th lap, and we'll see what happens. But lap 2, 24.8 is a quick time in the grand scheme of things. I don't think, up until that point, I don't think we broke into the 24s in practice. We barely broke into the 25s. So when I saw a 24.8, I was quite happy. But you never know, maybe the track's ramped up, maybe everyone else was sandbagging a bit, so you always want to improve, no matter what time you set, if you've got more laps available to you. So, getting back on it now, going into the final lap of the session, or final 2 laps, getting a good exit, hugging it nice and tight, but then letting it run out wide. I preferred keeping it out wide. Some people go in and then jerk to the left at the very last minute. Down to 3rd. Good power, nice and smooth. Could probably use a little bit more runoff there, but it's not the end of the world. Down to 1st. It always looks like you're going to overshoot it, but if you flick it into 1st, it just slows the car down at the crucial moment. Down to 2nd, we avoid the curb on the left, that's better. Up to 3rd. There's a sensor on the exit of that one, so you've got to be careful, as I said earlier. Down to 2nd for the left. I don't know why, I never really got on with that corner. Just really didn't get on with it. But yeah, this was my 3rd qualifying session in GT3, so there was, yeah, it wasn't perfect. To be honest, as I said earlier, my only weakness was I was too aggressive with the steering everywhere, because mentally I was like bringing myself up to it, because I didn't want to be too conservative and leave time on the table. So I was just, in some corners I was just yanking it in, and with real race cars, I mean in the sim you can kind of get away with it sometimes, but in reality, if you're too aggressive with the steering, the car won't comply. You can see that we go wide on the exit, we're pushing too hard now. To be honest, the tyres have gone as well, especially the rears, so in every traction zone we're losing lap time to our delta. So, final lap of qualifying. There's no more time on the board, so this will be the last lap. Keep an eye on the delta. Down to 3rd gear for turn 1. Good power. And you can see, even though it looks like we've nailed turn 1, we're red on the delta, and I'm pretty sure, I remember correctly, I was a 10th down before going into turn 2. At this point, mentally, I'm going, tyres have gone, I know that, I can't do anything about it, I'm driving as best I can, it's not happening. Lap 2 was a good lap. If I knew lap 2 was going to be the peak of the tyre, I probably would have approached it differently. I thought lap 3 and 4 were going to be the best, as that was the case at Donington and Oulton Park as well. But Brands Hatch is a different circuit, there's more traction zones, I suppose. It just, for whatever reason, lap 2 was the best, and that was game over really. We get the car in nicely there. If we did that on the 2nd lap, we probably would have got a 10th and a half, 2 tenths from that. So you can see there's nothing particularly wrong with this lap. It was just, yeah, it weren't the one. But like all these things, it's all experience as well when you're new to it, and I was new to it. It's only my 3rd session in British GT. or qualifying session, I'm using every bit of track time I can to learn something without throwing it off. So yeah, we're coming through the final corner. We pull into the pits. So we bailed on that lap. We're saving the tyres for the race because we do have to carry them over, and we park up ready for Michael to get in the car for the next session. So it was pole by 0.2 of a second to another McLaren, so it was good enough. I wasn't personally happy with the performance. Like in the Donington lap, I believe, if I look at the lap as a whole, that right-hander was 1.5, probably maybe even 0.2, and there's always a little bit of time everywhere else. So yeah, not perfect. For a third session of British GT, not bad. There was a lot of adrenaline produced in that session. I really enjoyed that. I actually got a few goosebumps watching it back, but yeah, hope you enjoyed. Another pole position in British GT, that was from last year in 2020. If you did enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up and sub up to the channel if you want to see more stuff like this, ACC content as well. But for this video, that is the end. Until the next video, I'll see you soon.